for you to talk about what the Black Lives Matter movement means to you.
Yes. So Black Lives Matter movement for me is now a current movement where you have the uprising of young Black people, of and not just Black people. It's really new age generation, and it's kind of like the young, and how we are moving forward with current civil rights issues and things that are happening. And so what has happened and what may have worked in the past don't work for Black Lives Matter. They don't work for the soldiers who are protesting and on the ground and doing what it is that they believe is right to get a message across. So if we think about like the NAACP and the founding of the NAACP with Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and they were young people when they started that movement. And the reason that the NAACP would do sit-ins, where they would do protests, where they would go out and get the dogs sicked on them and get the water hose on them, was because they wanted to demonstrate, they wanted to publicize and demonstrate the movement for America, so they could actually get on TV and people could understand what was happening across the country when it came to racism in the South. And so now you see us doing something similar, but in a whole nother radical way. So Black Lives Matter, they're very radical, and they're very unapologetic about what it is that they want to do and the demands that they have for change, for social justice. When they say no justice, no peace, they mean that. If they're going to go and loot, they're going to go loot. If they're going to go blow up some stuff and set things on fire, hey, they're doing that because they are hurting. They're sick and tired of the continuous conversation of, I call them talking heads. You just have talking heads and people just saying stuff, but nothing's happening, right? So they say, well, we have to make noise so that people understand that this is not a game. So when you start to hit people in their pockets, then they want to start to listen to you and understand that, hey, this is not a game. And so, yeah, you have the conversation of, well, why are you ruining businesses and looting businesses in your own community? Because the message needs to get out. And so finally, I feel as if for the moment right now, the message is out, people are listening, and that change, you start to see people being a little more empathetic towards what is happening. But we don't need just empathy. We don't need, I'm not a person about just talking and about conversation, right? I'm about action. So I'm one of those radical people who, I don't care if I lose my job for what I believe in. I don't care if you feel as if you can't stand with me because I believe in a certain way, or I'm going to support a certain group of people, or because I'm going to do what I believe is right. Right. So I've always been that person, and I just never worked in a very organized system because I come in and shake things up. And I've always been this radical person that didn't really care about consequences when I was growing up. I said, well, I'm just going to do what I believe is right, or what I want to do, and I'll deal with the consequences later. So when the protesting thing started going on, people were calling me like, are you being safe? I said, I'm not out there protesting. I'm not as young as I used to be. What they got going on, and it's COVID-19. So I just want to make sure that I'm safe and healthy. Right. But I understand what their rage is, and I understand what they're doing. So now a lot of the conversation is about, it has moved from criminal justice reform to dismantling the entire system, because what has been uncovered is it's really hard to reform a system like from the root. Because when we think about policing in the Black community, policing came about around Jim Crow, around segregation, when they wanted to have protection and police around the lynching of Black people. And that's what the police were there for. So they were there to make sure that there was, I guess, just, I don't know, organization. I don't know how you can try to protect or organize a lynching of any person, but that's exactly what they were there for, sicking dogs on people and things like that. And so when you think about the history of the police departments and their relationship with the Black community, that starts centuries ago. None of us were even born at that time. So how can you reform a system that's rooted in racism? So they're like, listen, defund the police departments and dismantle the whole thing, and let's start fresh and let's start new. And so I know that Black Lives Matter movement is about that. They have about 36 chapters around the country now, and it's serious. It's growing. It started out as a hashtag, as grassroots, and now like the power of social media and the power of media has really given it its roots and legs for it to really live and move and breathe. And so they're really about disrupting. I'm for it all. I'm down with all that.
I watched 13th was one of the movies or the Netflix series that was highly recommended to watch to better understand like police brutality in the system and whatnot. Is there any other movies or books or resources that you found that is really helpful for educating yourself about like the police defunding and why they're pushing for that and whatnot?
There's a historian called Dr. Claude Anderson, and he's an OG in the game. He's about 80 something years old now, but Dr. Claude Anderson really spits a lot of truth to knowledge, and he talks a lot about power economics and Black economics in America. And a lot of that all of this ties in together. So he's definitely somebody really good to check out. He has a lot of books out. He also has an interview on the Breakfast Club that you can watch. You can catch that. Yeah. There's also any work that Ava DuVernay is of hers is really good. She documents the Black experience really well. And even we could talk about
if it doesn't come to you, it'll come to you at some point.
Spike Lee, anything Spike Lee talks well about the Black experience as well. He's been doing work for a very long time, so he's really good also. And what else?
Well, I'll say that one of the comments from Cassandra is exactly what you said, that the system isn't broken, it's working how it was designed to. So now it's time to rebuild, and start with something that was designed to really not be a systemic system of racism.
Yeah. So I think overall in general, Black Lives Matter is not something that's going to go away. The only reason that it goes away is because the individual is not paying attention. But Black Lives Matter will always stay on their purpose and on guard to do what it is that they are purposed to do for social justice. And so what happens is you have these flash moments where it's really hyped up in the media and everybody's paying attention. And then when the next big thing happens, then everybody's attention drives that way. So it's really an individual's commitment to say, I'm going to be committed to stay woke. You got to stay woke. Now that you have been wakened up, you have to stay there. You have to stay there and be very intentional about making sure that you are in the know, but in the know and then taking action.
Yep, I love that. And thank you so much again for joining us. Those were amazing insights that you've shared, and I really appreciate you joining this conversation and helping everyone better understand, your take on the Black Lives Matter movement.